Welcome to the Offshore Club's fun-filled, fact-filled, fast-paced blockbuster podcast, Coffee with Carib Carter, coming to you exclusively from where the sun never sets on the good life at a great price. And now, fill up your favorite coffee mug and join your expert and your guide, Carib Carter Clues.
Good morning, Mr. and Miss America and all the ships at sea. All right, folks, tell me the first three people who send me an email. This is Carib Carter. I want you to send me an email. The first three people who do it to carter.clues@yahoo.com, carter.clues@yahoo.com, and tell me who opened his show, every episode of his radio show with that in the 40s, and I will send you a free bag, first three, a free bag of fire department coffee, Honduran coffee, okay? Fire department makes, I drink a lot of coffee, different place. Best coffee I've ever had in their Honduran coffee. They have captured the essence of the sweetness of Honduran coffee. And to those of you who can remember, let me give it to you again. Good morning, Mr. and Miss America and all the ships at sea. And right now, our super producer, Brian Bauman, is saying Carter's definitely lost his mind this time. But if you're one of the first three who can send me who that was, who opened every show that way, his radio show, I will send you a bag of fire department coffee, Honduran coffee, that I guarantee you will just love, okay? All right, let's take it from there. Now that you've had your weird opening, again, this is Carib Carter with Coffee with Carib Carter. We're here, as we are every Monday at noon at Offshore.club. Every Monday at noon, Offshore.club. Make sure to tell your friends and neighbors and all the ships at sea to tune in. And we have a really big show today. We have a great show today. For one thing, we have in our friends and family segment, we have an interview with absolutely one of my favorite people in the international scene. Okay. I'm not going to go much further than that, other than to tell you when you see it, you're going to say that she now is one of your favorite people too. Okay. She's a member of the Offshore.club team, and she is simply delightful. Okay. And some of you, I'll give you a little hint. When you see her, you're going to say, Carter, we know her. Of course, she's delightful. We watch her every Tuesday. That's as far as I'm going to go. No more. Okay. So stay tuned for it. And as I say every week, thanks for the emails. I answer every one of them. And make sure to follow Carib Carter. Make sure to follow me on Facebook. I post almost every day now. Okay. I try to give you a video with some real meat in it. And some of your responses have been just wonderful. And I appreciate that too. So we got a great thing going here. And it's because of you. It's because of you, the members of the Carib Carter cadre. Okay. You're the ones that make it all possible. I love being here with you. And thank God, from what I'm hearing, you are enjoying it too. So that's fantastic. So let's get right into the body of the show. Those who are regular viewers know that we always start off with a day in the life, and the one of the elements in the day in the life, and it's not an everyday occurrence, but once you make your move, and please make your move offshore. That's what what's the Offshore Club is about. It's what Coffee with Carib Carter is about, and all the other great podcasts we do throughout the week. The Offshore Gazette, and I hope you all subscribe to it because it's a great publication. It's what it's all about, helping you live the good life at a great price offshore in the Caribbean and Central America. And one of the aspects of it, it's not every day, but you travel back and forth. And the traveling, you know, I always give you a little vignette from my life so you can say, okay, what's real life like offshore? The traveling, you know, it can be a little difficult even before this bunkum that's going on now. And when things get back to normal, sooner or later, folks are going to want their life back and tell the politicians, knock it off. We've had enough. I'm hearing that more all the time, thank God. But the travel, you're flying, you know, I fly, when I fly back and forth, I go Spirit Airlines. Okay. Now, some of you say, well, Carter, why do you like flying on the wing? It's not that bad. Okay. But it is very cheap. I'm talking about round trip for $300 to $500. Okay. Depending upon how far ahead you book and the deal you get. But part of the day in the life, I'll never forget one time I was flying back on Spirit, and this is not to knock Spirit. I advise you to check out Spirit. At those rates, look, a plane's a plane. When you're in a damn airplane, you're in an airplane. You're sitting in this little tight seat, and that's it. And they can tell you, well, American has bigger seats. It ain't a rock and recline or a lounge seat. I don't care what plane you're on. So, when you're Spirit, you're on an airplane, whatever it is. So it's an airplane, it's an airplane, it's an airplane. So so that's why I advise you use it. It gets same amount of time, okay, and lands at the same airports, but it's much cheaper. But here's the one little disadvantage I had. I remember flying back from Honduras. I was visiting my wife before we were married, and we landed in Orlando, and I wanted to get my transfer flight to Baltimore, and I'm at the gate getting ready to get on. I assumed, and they said, "Well, sorry, there are no more seats." I said, "What do you mean? What do you mean there are no more seats?" I got it's my ticket here. I got my ticket, and they said, "Yeah, but the seats are all filled now." I said, "Well, I need to get home." They said, "Well, don't worry, don't." This was I'll never forget. It was a Friday morning. Okay, it's important. It's a Friday morning. So I said to them, "Well, I got to get home," and they said, "Don't worry, we're gonna put you on the next flight out. We put you on the next flight out. We're sorry this happened." I said, "Okay, all right. When's the next flight out?" And the woman said, "Tuesday." I said, "Pardon me. I thought you said I thought I just heard you say Tuesday." She said, "Yeah, next flight." Remember this Friday. The next flight out's Tuesday. That's what I'm doing right now. Is just the way I felt at that moment, and so I had to find another airline that works. So, be prepared. Flights, even when the politicians allow us to resume free, normal lives, flying is still a hassle. So build that into the mix. All right. I always tell you the truth about what a day in the life is. If you're going to be somebody who travels back and forth, once you make your move, just be prepared. You're going to run into that, and not just with Spirit, with any airline. So just prepare for it and make it part of the trade-off to being able, a little bit of inconvenience on the flight sometimes, but in order to live the good life at a great price in the Caribbean and Central America. All right. And that brings me to our most frequently asked question. Probably right now, some of you are thinking it would be, did you ever fly Spirit again? The answer is yes, I did, over and over again. I would arrive at 1:59 in the morning and sleep on the floor at San Pedro Sula Airport and take a cab the next day to meet up with my at the time fiance. So, but that's not today's most frequently asked question. The most frequently one of the most frequently asked questions I get. As a matter of fact, somebody just asked me last week, "How do you deal with the mañana thing down there? The pace?" And I tell them, well, first you need to understand it's probably worse than you imagine, because believe it or not, in Central America, mañana is a term of expediency. Okay, that's how bad it is. That's how different the pace of life is. All right. I must have told a million of them, of my friends in Honduras. Here's kind of a rule of thumb, that if you're supposed to be someplace at 5, you probably will not arrive on time if you leave home at 5. Okay, that's, to a lot of us in the U.S. and other parts of Western, that's kind of axiomatic. It ain't. It is not in Central American countries. Okay, so the frequently asked, how do you deal with the mañana thing? You learn to live with it, because it's probably not going to change. I remember one time I ordered furniture at I think the name of the big department store down at Carry On, I think it's called Carion. Beautiful department store. I mean, it's really nice. And they have them all over Honduras. So I ordered a big piece of furniture for my home in El Pino. And I said, this was on a Monday. I said, when will this be delivered? And the guy said, Jueves, Thursday, Jueves. I said, good. All right, but morning or afternoon? They said, well, probablemente, afternoon, tarde. Yeah. I said, okay, I'll keep an eye out for it. It was Thursday, almost a month. Okay. It was like they forgot to say, add that Thursday in a month. All right. And when I would call, there was no, oh my God, we forgot. Oh my goodness, how could that have happened? It was no problema, senor. No problema. It's on the way. No problem. So it was Thursday, but it was Thursday a month. All right. So the mañana thing is real. So just brace yourself for it. As I say, in Central American countries, mañana to them is a term of urgency. Okay. That's how different the pace is. So be prepared for that. But I don't. But I want to add a caveat here, if I may. That it is not a, don't ever let anybody say that it's because they're lazy. There is no laziness in Central America. When you make your move, you're going to realize these are the most energetic, hardworking people you have ever been around. I mean, if any of them do your lawn now, because a lot of them have their own lawn companies in the U.S., they're energetic. My wife is like a whirlwind, right? My little Honduran wife. It's not, when I built the wall around my home in Alpino, they were there like between 6 and 7 in the morning and worked till 6 to 7 at night in 100-degree weather. And there was no, break every hour for 15 minutes. Did not happen. Worked like crazy. And I'm talking pick and shovel. I'm not talking sitting in a machine and push out. No, this. Yeah. So it's not that what it is. And this is not, don't anybody says, well, that's stereotyping. Number one, the reason they have stereotypes is because people have certain characteristics. It's not, there's no laziness. There is what some of us would term a lack of initiative, okay, among many people in Central America. It's just part of their culture for decades and even centuries. It's part of that laid back, not taking a lot of initiative to start a lot of stuff, right? And to make a lot of changes, but part because they're satisfied with the way they live. And I have a feeling, and I'll close the FAQ, the frequent asked questions. I have a feeling that with you, after you've been down there a while, you're going to like it too, and say, you know what? In many ways, I like this pace a lot more. Okay, one thing, I feel like I'm going to live longer, right? And let me add to that, you're not only going to live longer, you're going to live better, and you're going to live cheaper. Okay, so that's the answer to your frequently asked question about the mañana thing. There we go. So let's move on to the Mad Max moment, and this time I'm really going to make it a moment. Okay, the Mad Max for all of you who are regular Carib Carter cadre members. This is why I tell you. I just finished telling you why you should go there, and I'm going to tell you why you should leave here. Here now is the U.S. As you can see, I'm in a different setting from usual day because I'm at my cabin that my wife and I have up in West Virginia, which is so far removed from government. It's wonderful. The other day, I did a Carib Carter post on Facebook, and if any of you saw it, you'll recall I said one of the things I love up here, being way, 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 way up in the woods in West Virginia, is way up here, they don't like revenuers or politicians. And I was shooting out in the woods near where our cabin is. And I said, now there are, good many rattlesnakes here. But I think any of you would agree that if you can have more rattlesnakes and less politicians, that's a hell of a good trade-off. Okay. So I am up in West Virginia coming to you today. And I'm going to, in the Mad Max, I tell you why I think you need to leave the U.S. So let me tell you something that I was going to say if it hasn't occurred to you yet, but I know it has occurred to you. You're getting regulated to death, and it's going to get worse now with the socialist government. Okay. Let me put this in perspective. Okay. What do I mean by that? There are now 70,000 regulators, bureaucrat regulators, just the Pecksniffian, fingers in your face regulators in the U.S. government alone now. 70,000 in 70 different agencies. Okay. Those regulators, that the regulations they enforce now cost the average American household compliance with those regulations $14,000 a year. Would you like to have that money? Over the past 50 years, regulations have grown to the point where they consume $2 out of every $3 you make. I'm talking regulations, folks. The reason I'm bringing it up is you don't have this in Central America. They're not big enough to have these kind of regulators just descending upon you constantly. The Federal Register, the compendium annual book of regulations for the U.S. government now. Trump's last year in office, he had gotten it down. I'm saying down. I just said down to 60,000 pages of regulations that you have to comply with, taking your time and your money and your productivity. Their thumb on you every move you make. They predict that Biden will have it back up to 80,000, probably within a year at the most, to 80,000. Under Barack Obama, Joe Biden's idol and frankly his puppet master, it was over 100,000 pages of regulations that you have to comply with at a cost, average cost the American family of $14,000 a year, not to mention your time and your energy and your lifeblood. Okay, let me put it in perspective. Then I'm going to move on because I get tired of talking about what this government's doing to people now, which is another reason you need to make your move and get out. The Federal Register this year will be, they estimate, 70 to 75,000 pages. The Federal Register. The King James Version of the Bible is 1,281 pages. So God can give you his commandments for your life in 1,200 pages, but government takes 70 to 100,000 pages. You don't have to live like that, folks. You don't have, there's a better life south of the border in these little countries where they don't have this massive regulatory Gestapo. And let me just add, so you're going to, somebody might say, well, Carter, they suppose they get it there. Let me tell you something. You're not going to roll them back here now. It ain't going to happen. Not with Joe Biden as president. Okay. And then Kamala Harris. You can't roll it back. You can't roll it back. You can't reverse it. But if you move south of the border, you can prevent it. They don't have it now. And you can help be one of those who prevents it from happening. Okay. And you'll be joined by a lot of Latinos who will say to you, yeah, we ain't taking it. Okay. So that's a Mad Max report. It's giving you another reason to make that move and make it now. Make it now. And now back to Happy Talk. Every episode of Coffee with Carib Carter, I give you the $1,000 listing Caribbean. Okay. You know, $1 million listing New York with Ryan Serhant and the others. $1,000 listing. When I say $1,000 listing Caribbean, I really mean it. I find you homes that are in the thousands of dollar range. Okay. And these are incredible homes, incredible homes. One thing, I'm going to say it outright because we partner with ECI Development. Go to their website, ecidevelopment.com. We had Mike Cobb on recently talking about beachfront home in Grand Pacifica, one of the most beautiful residential resort communities in all of Latin America. $130,000. In this country, it would cost you probably $500,000. Okay. And if it was located on the beach in California or South Beach, Florida, probably pushing $1 million. Okay. 130,000. Check it out. Check it out. ecidevelopment.com. Now let me give you another one that's a one-off. I love these one-offs too. Okay. And I'm going to preface it with this. I always tell you this. Every week I spend time on Vivian for you. I spend time on Vivian.com, VIVIUN.com, and look up what would be a good house for you all. What would be a great house for you for our $1,000 listing Caribbean? Okay. So I found one. As usual, I always come up with something for you. You know that. That's why I'm here. And let me make clear, I do not work for Vivian.com. I do not get paid for them. I bought a house from Vivian 11 years ago. Great deal. My home in El Pino, which my wife sold because she's bought another one now near San Pedro Sula. But Vivian.com, you go there. There's a little box up in the right. It's a minuscule little box. You type in the country you want and then hit go. Okay. And it takes you to that country. And here's all these listings. It's absolutely fantastic. So this time I said, well, let me look at Guatemala for the Carib Carter cadre. And I came up with this one, okay? I love doing this. You know, people say, why don't you get the super producer to insert it? Because I like holding the things up. That's why. See, Vivian, like I said, okay. This one is, to me, a great deal, okay? Home in Guatemala City. And, you know, Guatemala during its civil war, which has been over a very long time now, was a rough place to be. It's not anymore, okay? The crime, let me put it, the people say, what about crime? You're safer in Guatemala City than Detroit, Baltimore, Chicago, Cleveland, Minneapolis, Portland. I could go on and on and on, but I think you get the picture, and it ain't pretty. You're not safe in America's cities. There you are safe. Look, I was raised in Baltimore. I would no more go into Baltimore City now than I would lop my own head off. All right. Matter of fact, I might lop my own head off first because at least it'd be quicker death. Not so in Guatemala City. Beautiful city. Has about 2 million people. Gorgeous areas. And some of modern has an underground, believe it or not. It has an underground, which is just gorgeous. Matter of fact, you can get a tour of it if you go. Well, let me get to that in a minute because I'm going to confuse you here because I'm going to talk about a podcast that has nothing to do with Vivian. Okay, this home is brand new construction, 2 levels. It's not fancy. This is not a fancy home, but it's in the city, which I like. I was raised in the city back when Baltimore was a great city. I love city life. Okay. You can't live it in the U.S. anymore, but back in the days when you could, city life was good, folks, believe it or not. This is in the city, brand new construction. It's not a row home. It's kind of a semi-detached, and you have stores around it and everything. It's walkable community, which to me is just fantastic. I love that. Being able to walk in my front door, grab a cup of coffee, do a little shopping, walk in, and then walk back home. That's what you're going to get with this home. 2 levels, garage, living room, dining room, kitchen, 2 full bathrooms, 3 bedrooms, access to the 3rd floor. Where you climb, it has the steps up to there are like 20 pictures there, folks. When you go to Vivian and click on this, by the way, the numbers to type in the little box up in the upper right, 277775. Let me do that again because there was a lot of 7s, wasn't there? 277775. Okay, 277775. Type it in the little box and hit go. It's going to take you to this house. Okay, a lot of great pictures there. And again, it's not furnished. It's almost brand new, okay? No one's lived in it before, and so it's yours. It's yours to make into your own, right? Which a lot of us love. I like that, okay? My wife and I bought a home in York. That it was worse than, but trust me, it was worse than nothing, and we could make it into our own. Well, this one is not worse than nothing. It's inside. It's yours. It's clean. It's well built, okay? The garage, living room, dining room, kitchen. You're going to like the layout. It's a nice layout. You go up to the 3rd, up the steps from the 2nd floor to the 3rd, takes you to the rooftop terrace. Okay. And folks, keep in mind, this home is about 1,200 square feet, I think. Yeah. But that doesn't include the rooftop terrace because remember, you're in the Caribbean. So when you have a rooftop terrace, that's part of your home. You put furniture up there. You know, you don't have to worry about, well, Carter, what about when it gets cold and starts snowing? It ain't going to snow. Okay. It's going to be beautiful weather all year round in Guatemala City, okay? So that's part of your lifestyle. Living up there on the terrace, you can do your barbecue up there. That's how good it is, okay, folks? So add another, what do you think, 300 to 200 square feet up there that you're living on, which is just fantastic. And I'll bet you right now, and you can, if you buy this home, you email me and tell me. Remember, carter.clues@yahoo.com. That's where you're getting your free coffee too. If you can tell me who said, good morning, Mr. and Miss America, and all the ships at sea. But when you write to me, one day I want you to write to me and tell me, Carter, you were right. We spend half our life up on the terrace here at this home in Guatemala City. Beautiful home. Let me show you a picture of it here. You know, as I said, this is not, you're not going to look and say, geez, that's gorgeous. It's a nice home. Let me get it right here. Nice home. See, semi-detached there. All right, that's the garage doors up front. Nice, well-built, solid home. And you can beautify it yourself, you know, in Guatemala City. How beautiful is Guatemala City? There you go. Can you see that? All right, let's take a look at it. Beautiful city, beautiful city. And you're not too far. Whenever you live in Central America, you're not too far from the beach. Okay. Plus, you get to meet, you get to meet the good, decent people. Okay. Good, decent people. When my wife showed me this picture, I said, Princess, show me a picture of some Guatemalan people, the kind of people that you knew when you were down there. Because remember, Honduras is right next to Guatemala. You know, look at those smiles. Look at the smile on the kid's face and the grandmother. Isn't that lovely? And by the way, the Guatemalans are famous for making those camisas, those shirts, blouses, right? Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that takes me back to when I was a kid, when people had that loving, kind look. It's just nice. I'm sorry. It's just nice. Okay. It's just nice. So that home costs, now you're saying, okay, Carter, you've told us what's the cost, you know, $50,000. $50,000. Folks, that home in the U.S. would be several, in a U.S. city, even as awful as our cities now are, that home would be $200,000. I'm telling you, I know, because the neighborhood I grew up in now, one of the homes that when I was a kid would have sold for 5 or 6, it's 200,000. That'd be at least a $200,000 home in any American city. It really would. $50,000, and it's yours. Done. And if I were you, negotiate. My wife and I are looking at a beachfront property. Matter of fact, we're talking to the people in Honduras, around La Ceiba, and we negotiated. Negotiate, you know, always negotiate. It never hurts to ask, okay? Never hurts to ask. Remember, you're bringing cash to the table. So there you have a $50,000 home. You own it. The taxes are probably $100 a year. Yeah, that's right. I did say that. Yeah, I did say that. $100,000 a year. So you're not getting gouged by government on the taxes, all right? And you're not paying for a permit for everything. Your electric bill, minuscule, you know, minuscule, maybe $30 a month, if that, you know, probably at times, if you don't run your air conditioning a lot, $10, $15, $20 a month, and you're not going to run the heat. Trust me. So you're not going to have that problem. So it's an incredible deal and a good life with those kind of good people there. Okay, just good, decent people. It's one of the things I loved about living in Honduras. Reason my wife and I already own one home there, getting ready to buy another one. We like the people. They're nice people. I'm going to say it again. They take me back to the days when I was a kid in America, where you just had nice people who enjoyed each other. You didn't have this constantly clawing at each other. You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to do this. If you say that, you're a racist. You're non-equity. You know, please stop it. Just stop it. You know, it's not that way. Hi, how are you? Come on in. You know, you want a tortilla, whatever, you know. Wouldn't you like that again? Wouldn't you like that again? Yeah. Good neighbor. You know, when I was a kid, I think it was, they had the good neighbor policy. Well, all of Central America is a good neighbor policy, okay, on a personal one-to-one basis. So there you go. You got it. You got it. And that, go there, look it up, and to get an idea. I promise you, to get an idea of what Guatemala City's like, because you know, folks, you're always going to hear negatives. Don't listen to them. But to get a real idea, there's a great podcast. It's called, it's by Dan. I don't even know his last name. Somebody ought to tell him, you need to put your last name on stuff, Dan. It's called The New Travel. Just go to YouTube, go to YouTube, type in Guatemala Travel Log Vlog 3. You with me? You with me on this? Guatemala Travel Vlog, VLOG 3. And this 10-minute video by this young man, Dan, and his wife, where he just takes you on a tour of Guatemala City and talks to you about it, the food, the prices, what you can do, the down under. It was like thinking, I thought to myself, it takes me back to when I managed a political campaign for Paul Coverdale in Atlanta, Georgia. And we used to love to go to the underground. There is no underground in Atlanta, Georgia. It's been destroyed now. But back then you went to the underground. It was just fun. They had the underground in Guatemala that's safe and beautiful with great stores. And he's going to show it to you. It's Dan's, The New Travel's the name of his vlog. Just type in at YouTube, Guatemala Travel Vlog, VLOG 3. and that's going to give you a good flavor of the city. Okay, so there you have it. There's your $1,000 listing, Caribbean. I hope you like that. I hope one of you buys it. I really do. In a second, I'm going to tell you about somebody who's followed up on one of our early ones. But first, I want to take you to what I promise you is the highlight of this episode of Coffee with Carib Carter. I interviewed, as I said earlier, one of my favorite people, one of my favorite teammates at the Offshore Club, and who has her own show every Tuesday. I'm not going to introduce any more because I interviewed her earlier, and I introed it in the interview I did with her earlier today. So, super producer Brian, if you will roll that, folks, I think you're going to love this. You're going to love her. All right, folks. I told you earlier in the program I was going to, in our friends and family section, I was going to have a very, 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 very special guest for you, and this guest really is. It's one of my favorite people. She's one of the key players, one of the key team members on the Offshore Club, and someone who when you see her, you're going to say, of course, I already know Alyssa Esquivel. Please come in, Miss Expat Mom. There we go. There we go. Welcome.
Thanks, Carter. Thanks so much for having me today.
It's my pleasure. And how are things in beautiful Belize?
They're great. The weather has been fantastic the last couple of days. Sunny, as you can see. I think you can see in the background there behind me. Yeah. My husband and my kids were out in the boat yesterday, so I am a little bit pinker than I'm normally at.
There we go.
I tried the application of sunscreen, apparently not enough times. So.
Well, this is a real treat for me because, folks, when I tell you that Alyssa is one of my favorite people, every once in a while you meet someone who you just say, I really like that person. And then the more you get to know them, the more you realize you were right in your first feeling. And that's Alyssa, just a great upbeat personality and smart as a whip, and lives there in Belize with her 4 children, right? Mm-hmm. 4. And she does her show every Tuesday. Some of you I know watch it. I know you love it. I hope not more than Coffee with Carib Carter, but second. How's that? Second. All right. But it's just a great show, especially for young people who have children and are thinking, should I make the move offshore? So, what's it like? Alyssa, first of all, how'd you do it? How'd it come about? And then we'll get into what it's like. Okay? Where were you when suddenly you decided, or somebody decided for you, we're going to Belize? All right?
Yeah, I was living in California before I moved here, and honestly, I kind of had always known on some level that I wanted to be offshore somewhere. Not necessarily permanently, but I knew I wanted to go somewhere else. I just had always had that kind of drive to move offshore. And so an opportunity came up. I'd been looking a couple different locations, some in Southeast Asia and just different locations in the world, a little bit in Africa. And then Belize kind of came across my radar randomly, not so randomly. And it just kept coming across my radar over and over and over again. And so I went, okay, there's obviously something to this. And that's kind of was the beginning of the end.
All right. So now when you first decided, it kept coming across the radar, and finally you said, I got to check it out. I got to make a serious consideration about making a move. Were you married at the time?
No, I was actually single when I moved to Belize. It's 11 years ago now. And, met my husband here. He's from the island I live on. And yeah, like I said earlier, the rest is kind of history with that. But no, I was single when I moved to Belize. And honestly, I only originally thought it was going to be for a couple of years. And like so many people that are here, 2 turned into 5, turned into 10. It's when you fall in love with another culture, and when you realize just all the experiences you can have offshore, then not many people say no. Easy way to say it.
So you got married, 10 years ago, 9 years ago?
8 years ago, yeah.
8 years ago. And then you decided to raise a family at that point. Now, we always, we have a great time, but we always like to give people some very serious insights here. So you obviously decide to have children. And did you and your husband say to yourselves, if we're going to have kids, to give them the best of the opportunity, we need to move back to where you came from, Alyssa, which is the U.S. Did that conversation take place?
We definitely talked about the pros and cons and what the options were and where we would go if we went to the States. My family even is in different places in the States, so we weren't totally set on like, oh, this is where we're definitely going to go if we go back to the States. But really, when we laid out the pros and the cons, this made more sense. It made more sense for raising kids. It made more sense for our family. And then now, every time we've gone back, it's just reassured us of that decision, honestly. Because a lot of the pressures, the chaos, some of the things that our kids would have been exposed to in the States. I had worked with youth ministry before, so I had heard from the mouths of a lot of different youth in high school, college age, junior high age, that about the pressures that they had gone through and the pressures they were going through, and realized, we could give our kids a simpler way of life that was going to not have some of these pressures. Yes, there's other things that they didn't necessarily get to be part of, but there's a lot of things they do get to be a part of that other kids don't get to be a part of. So again, there's always plus and minuses, but for us, we went, okay, is it the minimal minuses? Are they worth are they higher significance than those that are pluses? And they just didn't line up. And for us, the pluses were much greater pluses than they were minuses.
All right. Let's take them one at a time. First of all, you mentioned there's some things they don't have. Life is a trade-off, okay? Life is a trade-off. It always is. There are things, at my age, at 74, there are some things that you say, this is really awful, right? There are other things you say, I'm glad I'm this old now. Okay, so it's a trade-off. Those of you out there right now saying, who in the hell would want to be 74? Trust me, it's a trade-off. There are some advantages, okay? But so let's start with what you could. I want you to address what's the thing that you would say, yeah, you're going to lose this, and that's a little something of a loss. Then next, what you gain that you cannot have in the U.S. So let's start the first one, the thing that you would say, yeah, okay, that is a loss. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think one of the things we had on our minus side is really the extracurricular activities. The States, everybody has their kids in like 5,000 extracurricular activities. And that, in some ways, it's because there's so many opportunities for them, right? You've got community centers, you've got local kid sports, you've got all these in these other big arenas that have developed. But again, even with that minus came with the positive of having them can come a lot of minus also, right? You've got the pressure that's on kids to perform. You've got just the competition among kids, which, I'm all for friendly competition. But, when you get into these, the colloquial terms like Karens, right? The moms that are so pressurized with their kids getting into certain things and doing certain things that the kids are getting eating disorders and they're struggling with personality disorders and all these other things that are a result of the pressure. Like that, there's a reason that those things are disorders and they're not meant to be part of our systems. And so for us, again, it was a minus because we went, okay, there's not necessarily going to be all these extracurricular activities they can be part of, but maybe that's actually a good thing because they focus on just being kids. So it's it's the trade-off you're talking about, right? Like, I think that's one of the positives that we really see is that our kids are able to just be kids and they run around in our yard in bare feet and, they play in the sand and they can play in the ocean and they can do those things that are just a little bit simpler of life. The things that I remember doing as a kid, right? Yeah. Like now I wouldn't dream of sending my kids to the park in the States and letting them play there. Maybe that's just me, but I wouldn't let them play there by themselves for a couple hours. When I was a kid, you could do that. And my mom wasn't stressing out about whether or not there was going to be something happening at the park or some sketchy person that was going to do something they shouldn't have done. Or, it just wasn't, the simplicity of life is much more present overseas than it is in the States, unfortunately, these days.
All right. So the if there is a loss, it's that there aren't a million and one things they can do. Frankly, many of which they probably are better off without. What is the number one advantage where you say we could never have done this with our children in the U.S.?
honestly, maybe if I was living on the coast of Florida and we had a bunch of money, our kids could go and they could go snorkeling with sea turtles, or they could go.
Wow.
My daughter swam with manatees. She's 7 years old. Last year for her birthday, she wanted to go out in the water, so we swam with manatees last year when she was 6, in open water. I mean, life jacket and everything, but that type of experience we couldn't have had, in the States.
Was this swim with the manatee? Was it like at Belize SeaWorld or something?
No, it was in out at the barrier reef here, on the edge of on the island here. So between the two islands, there's a spot where manatees come and they feed and everything, and you can swim with the manatees there. So it's out in nature. I mean, you don't touch the manatee, but you can swim alongside them, and there's sea turtles she swam with. She's played with the nurse sharks over at the reserve. You've gone fishing, so yeah, it's not SeaWorld. It's out in the Caribbean Ocean.
This is real world. This is not SeaWorld. This is real world.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's pretty fantastic.
My boys they've chased lizard around our yard, and wish willies, which are these big iguanas that they chase around the yard trying to catch. I mean, it sounds simple, but just being kids and being out in nature and experiencing nature.
It's just, I'm pausing here because I got a feeling that people watching this right now are as taken aback as I am. Because I never heard anything like that. Of course, I grew up in Baltimore City, so we didn't have very many manatees, but you definitely could not go out in the park by yourself much, even when I was a kid. And in Baltimore, you absolutely do not want your child going out in the park in Baltimore today. Okay, when I was years ago, there used to be a great ad that was a picture of a car that said, "This is not your grandfather's Oldsmobile." Okay, it was a new version. They don't even make them anymore. But okay, this America today is not your grandfather's America. So you ain't going your kids in the park. But these kids are going out enjoying the real world, real life in the real world, without the pressures that come with, having to win at everything they do, compete in everything they do. Just, it's like when I was a kid, you actually played sandlot ball, and that's what it sounds like. You can go out and do it. What about education? Okay, everybody's concerned. Well, what if let me say first of all, if one of the disadvantages is they can't go to, there's not great colleges in Belize, that to me is an advantage, because as Tony Robbins is making clear to people now, don't waste your money on college, okay? But what about just basic elementary school up education?
Yeah, that's the thing. That was another factor for us in looking at the options. And honestly, now, I think even more so through everything with COVID, there has been so many options that are on the table now that weren't on the table even a year ago, because schools have recognized the need to be online. And that sounds simple, but I mean, you have access right now in this day and age to schools that you would have never had access to because you simply weren't present where they were. Whereas now you have these top schools around the country in the United States that have gone online that are offering online access. So even if I just took apart any of the options we have here in Belize, I could actually still have my kids enrolled in a U.S. school system, even being offshore. So, okay, that's one option. But then you have, like in most countries in the Caribbean, in other places in the world, there's private schools as well. So depending upon the education level you want your kids to have, that's an option. We have our kids in it's essentially like a community school. It's a semi-private school. And their training is Caribbean based, but it's all English because we're here in Belize. But like our kids do a book report every week. Even my daughter, and she's in what would be like first grade here now. And she does a book report every month. It's not something super hard, I mean, normally it's like colored and pictures, and she draws a picture, whatever it is. But
it's not War and Peace. It's not War and Peace, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got like 6 pages in the book normally, so it's not, not really hard. It's like Dr. Seuss, simple, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But she does a book report every month. She writes the beginning, middle, and end of the story. She writes the characters of the story. But the fact they're doing book reports or they're encouraging reading and parents reading, and we have, as part of our, like, we have a contract we sign with the school, you know, to say, yes, we're going to uphold our child's educational interests, and, you know, so on and so forth. And in there, it even asks for parents to read for at least 20 minutes a day with their child. So the fact that they're putting that emphasis on learning through reading and education, to me, tells me of the values of the school also, and the fact that there is that caliber of education. You know, I mean, I don't know any school in the States that requires or asks their parents to have them read for 20 minutes a day with their kids. I'm not saying they shouldn't or they don't, but I just don't know. I don't know if that's part of our normal U.S. curriculum to have the parents read at home with their kids like that, you know?
I don't think so.
There's that standard of both, you know?
I don't think so. I think in some of America's inner city schools, you'd have to teach the parents to read first before they could do that. So, so I don't think that is a requirement. There's the one. It is Mother's Day. I don't want to take up your whole day, but what about two more questions, okay, if I may? And the background there is just exquisite. I mean, I got to say, because everybody like me is looking over your shoulder now, saying, I think that's a big giant palm tree in back of it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a palm tree in our front. It's a palm tree in our front yard. Laying over there.
That is just incredible. So two more questions. One is, what about the and I don't want to sound in any way that is derogatory, but your children are being raised with Belizean children, right? Right. So, I mean, it's not, you know, so is there, as a mother, do you say, I wish they were being raised with American children, or do you say, Carter, what the hell difference does it make? They're kids. What's the answer there?
Never. Honestly, because here's the thing. Okay, this might sound weird, but I recognize, and we've been talking about this a little bit on my weekly vlogs right now, is that I recognize that actually our kids are not going to be Belizean or American. They're a meld of the two. Their thought process, the way that they approach life, is going to be this blend between the two cultures. And actually, I would not trade that for anything, because it's going to give them flexibility, and it's going to give them a different processing for their mind that's going to allow them to be more adaptable in life. So as long as I'm having those conversations and recognizing the difference in the two, and then, you know, asking the questions when they have a cultural rub, right?
Right.
When they have a place where they go, okay, wait, that doesn't fully make sense. As long as I'm having those conversations, I think honestly, no, I would never want them to be just Belizean or just American, and never wish that they were one or the other, because they're actually going to be able to process stuff I would never be able to process in the same way, because they have a blended cultural perspective.
That's excellent. That's beautiful. All right. So I want to finish up with you just giving your recommendation on whether you would recommend this to other parents to make this kind of move. But before I do, let me make sure people understand, every Tuesday at noon is the Expat Mom with Alyssa, and that is a great show. That's a great show. That is a reference show for anyone with children who's thinking of getting them a better, I'm telling you, a better life. Okay, it really is. So, Alyssa, what is your straight recommendation to anyone who's considering making the move with children at this point?
I would definitely say do it, because here's the thing. I think, especially in this day and age, I think we think, like, especially older parents will think, okay, this is like, I have to it's a one-time thing, right? Like, you do it and it's done, or you're making a move to move. And the reality is, in this day and age, we don't have to. If it makes more sense for your family, think of it as a 6-month tryout. And you go, you test out the country. If that's not the right place for your family, because there are, you know, pluses and minuses of everywhere, and sometimes you don't know it until you get there, then find another country that does fit your family better. You know, it may be a year. You give it a year to test it out. Some countries, that's more realistic. And then, you know, if that's not it, you find someplace else. We have lots of friends here who, you know, I'm going to actually do an interview with another friend of ours in a couple of days, and her family actually moved from South Africa, and Belize wasn't the first country they went to, but it was the country that stuck and the one that worked with their family. So I think, realizing it doesn't have to be forever and ever in a lifetime, but finding and giving yourself the time to actually find the place that is your forever home and then stay in that location. Don't give yourself the stress of trying to make that decision without experiencing it yourself.
It's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Folks, remember, another advantage you get if you make the move to Belize is this lady becomes your neighbor. Okay. And that's a huge advantage. Alyssa, thank you. It has been a real pleasure.
Thanks so much, Carter.
Right.
Have a great day, guys.
All right. Take care. Thanks for joining us. Welcome back. Welcome back. I told you she's delightful. I told you she's delightful. Watch her show every Tuesday at noon, the Expat Mom at Offshore.club, your club. And every Tuesday, watch it because she's as delightful and informative and just winsome every Tuesday as you just saw her. And I'm just thrilled that I got a chance to talk with her. What a great person, great mother, what a wonderful friend. And that brings us to potpourri. Okay, potpourri. So the first thing I want to say is she told you about Belize. Go to ecidevelopment.com, okay, and scroll about 2/3 of the way down the page, and they have 5 handbooks there, okay? Here's what they look like. This is one of them. Now, this is not Belize, obviously. This is the Nicaragua Handbook. That handbook's free, okay? That's free. All 5 of them are free. I think it's Belize, Panama, Nicaragua, Argentina. I'm leaving out one. I can't even remember what it is, but they're all free. These things are like 100 pages, folks. Full color, everything you want to know, the medical treatment, prices, where to go, where to travel, where to visit, where to live, everything's there. And that is yours free. It does not come with the parrot. Okay, I want to make that clear. I never want to do any false advertising. The parrot, maybe you can get it extra. I'm not sure. But the booklet is free. The handbook is free. And it is fantastic. There are 5 of them. You know what I'd do if I were you? Get them. You're going to download them. Get them all. It's free. You can't be free. If somebody tells me you can have 1 free or 5 free, probably going to get 5 free. Okay. So download this handbooks. Go to ecidevelopment.com. Download them. Okay. Okay. That's part of our potpourri. The other part, I promised you, I got a note from our good friend Dan Taylor. Regular viewers, remember that interview with him from Roatan Island? Incredible guy. Very, very dear friend of mine. He's like a brother to me. One of the brilliant man. Anybody remembers that interview? It was like, damn, watching Carter interview him is like Dumb and Smarter, right? Because Dan is just brilliant and developed the Keyhole Bay, one of the most gorgeous residential resort communities ever built in Central America. Marriott said it was. And we interviewed him, and he talked to people about what's there for him in Roatan. Just got a note from him yesterday morning. Text message saying, Carter, your friend, I'm not going to mention name because I always respect your privacy, folks, came down. I'm helping him out. This gentleman, by the way, had written to me in Roatan. So Dan Rose said he came down. We had a wonderful time together. I'm helping him find the place that it's going to suit him best. Dan will do the same for you. Okay. Just write to me, carter.clues@yahoo.com. Mike Cobb, the owner of ECI Development, guy owns 5 resorts, residential resort communities. So, a pretty important person there. And by the way, make sure every Friday to watch the show Open Mike, which is an investment program with Mike. Okay. Talking about offshore investments. And we also weave in, you'll see it this past Friday show. Go back and look it up at offshore.club. Also talk about his advice on stock, a little bit on stock market investments. And, this guy's a very smart man. You don't get to be where he is in life without making pretty savvy investments. And so watch that show, Open Mic. It's at offshore.club. And you have him as a friend too. And he's there to help you out. Write to me. I'll put you in touch. That's the way it works. That's what the offshore.club is all about. That's what it's all about. And that's why we always finished with let's do this thing. All right. That's our motto. Let's do this thing. There's my coffee cup. Hold on a second. Get a drink for my final wind here. And this is why I try and give you a little encouragement, because I think a lot of times, we know we want to do something. We know it will be best for us. We know it will be just life-changing in a magnificent way, but we just hold back, we just hold back. We don't get, all right, maybe the courage to do it. The fear of the unknown is a very real thing. It's very understandable. That's why the Offshore Club is so important to you. That's why you should go there a lot, because it eliminates the unknown. You make friends. Patrick Hebert has a show every week Thursday, and he's your friend there. Mike Cobb, Alyssa, Alyssa, good friend. And so it takes away the fear of the unknown. But it really, the key to me, I'm just going to tell you, okay, because it comes from the heart. Look, I want to make clear, sometimes I got a letter from somebody the other day saying, Carter, it's easy for you to get up there and talk about taking a risk and all that, because, you're successful in life. You've made it. You're 74 years old. You don't have to worry about anything. The other day somebody said to Carter, what do you see for your future? I told him, I think I can sum it up in 3 words: forest, lawn, cemetery. But the truth of the matter is, yeah, I've been blessed, but I have failed. I have failed in life by doing exactly what I advise you to do on every show in this segment. Let's do this thing. I have failed almost as many times as I've succeeded. Okay, as a matter of fact, I was thinking the other day when I was out jogging that the key to anything I've succeeded at in life, thank God, is that I've succeeded one more time than I failed. I succeeded one more time than I failed. I was thinking what John L. Sullivan said, the great heavyweight boxing champion. They said, what's the key to being a champion? He said, get up one more time, then you get knocked down. Okay? So don't be afraid to make the move. And in saying that, I want you to understand you're going to be successful. You're going to be there. And you can even take it to the next level by just prepare yourself and embrace. Okay? I'm saying embrace what I call the 3 H's. And that's doing what's hard, doing what you hate, and doing what hurts. Okay? Do what's hard, do what you hate, and do what hurts. All right? You're going to succeed in life by doing the things you love, yes, but you want to super succeed in life. You want to really live the good life at a great price offshore. You want to enjoy the life like Alyssa has, and Mike Cobb, and these others who really are living the life of your dreams, in the Caribbean. Embrace the 3 H's. And I learned this from people like Goggins, David Goggins, who I always advise you to check out. Wilnick, Jocko Wilnick, these people, Dean Gracioso, Tony Robbins, the 3 H's. And you can succeed by doing what you love, but you want to take the next level, even when doing what you love. I learned from Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. Also, do what you hate, do what's hard, and do what hurts, okay? Because that takes you to the next level. It skyrockets it. That puts your success on steroids, okay? And that's what I want you to have by making your move offshore. You're going to have a life you can't probably even imagine right now when you make that move offshore. That's how good it's going to be for you. And that's why I encourage you to do it. I usually show a video to you here, but we're already long. And I don't want, and I respect your time. So just, as Will Smith in one of the videos I watched from him the other day, and some of you remember Pursuit of Happiness, that's how he really does live his life, just never stopping, going for the goal, doing what's hard, what he hates and what hurts. And that's how, you get to the super top. He says in that, don't quit it, get it. Don't quit it, get it. Isn't that good? Don't quit it, get it. Well, don't quit your offshore dream. Get your offshore dream. All right? And that's it. That's the final word, except for one thing that I finish with every episode of Coffee with Carib Carter. Folks, together, because we are in it together. There we go. Let's do this thing.
And that's a wrap. Thanks for joining us at the Offshore Club. For more information on the Offshore Club or to contact Carib Carter, visit www.offshore.club today. www.offshore.club. That's www.offshore.club. See you next time at the Offshore Club.